Hello and welcome to today's Seer session. Thank you all for joining us. I'm excited about today's session when we're joined by Velrada. Velrada are some global specialists in workforce management. I'm thrilled to have some of the UK team with me today, and they're going to be showcasing their power rostering solution. So thrilled to meet you all. Richard, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Rufus. Hi, everybody. So today's agenda for PowerRoster webinar, we'll go through a meet the team, who's who, our teams in different regions and how we support clients and partners globally. We'll cover off what is PowerRoster, why it was built, the origin of it, and some of the challenges that it solves in workforce management. We'll walk through a demonstration, a live demo of a platform in action and some of the key features. And we've got a case study for you of a client that recently went live as well. So a lot to cover in the next sort of 20 minutes, half an hour or so. Opportunity for a live Q&A at the end. So please feel free to either drop any questions or comments in the chat, and we will hopefully have time to pick those up as we go through. So the who's who, the Velrada team, well, just like Seer 365, we operate globally. This webinar is focused on our EMEA partners and North American time zone friendly. But for anyone watching the recording back, if you're over in APAC or ANZ, our product team are headquartered in Perth in Western Australia, and we've got offices throughout Australia with power worker expertise available to cover the ANZ and APAC market. But the team on the call and your presentation team today is driven out of the UK and Europe with Rufus. So that's myself, Richard Valentine, the sales director for UK and Europe for Velrada. Been in the Dynamics and Power Platform channel for many years, based on the south coast of the UK in Dorset. Joined by Tim Gould, who's a senior solutions consultant for UK and Europe for Velrada. A 10-year veteran of Velrada, one of our earlier employees in the region here, a seasoned PowerRoster field service implementation consultant, and I'm very fortunate to have him on the pre-sales team in region here as well now. Tim's based in the Midlands in the UK. And joined by Caroline Dent as well, who'll be driving the demonstration for us today. Caroline's our operations director and PowerRoster lead. Caroline came from industry, actually. Used to run a workforce management and scheduling team in a water company, managing complex rosters and crewing requirements. So Caroline's been there, done it, seen the challenges. And moving over into the IT world, Caroline worked with a number of field service vendors and has been more focused on obviously the Microsoft Dynamics field service and working with Velrada around PowerRoster in recent years. The Caroline's based in Lincolnshire over in the east of the UK. So that's all of us in the UK and Europe team, your presentation team today. We've also got on the call, but not speaking, members of our US team that we'd like to introduce for our partners the other side of the pond. So that's Jordan O'Halloran, fellow Brit. They spent the last decade in Perth, but is now over in San Diego. Jordan leads our sales operation over in the US. David Conti, who's our GM for product and a PowerRoster curator and field service guru based over in San Francisco. And Dan Seferati, who's pre-sales consultant and a solution architect for the US team. And Dan is based in Atlanta, Georgia. So welcome, everyone. Please connect to us on LinkedIn. We'd love to hear from you. We're all first name, last name at velrada.com if you'd like to reach out to us either via email or via Teams. So great to meet you all today. And Caroline will take us through, first off, why PowerRoster was built and some of its key functionality and a demonstration. And then Tim will pick up and take us through the implementation case study, the recent work with a client that's gone live on PowerRoster. So as I say, please do reach out to us either during the session, use the comments in the chat, or feel free to raise any questions or queries at the end. Welcome, everybody.
Thanks, Richard. Nice to meet you all. I'm going to talk you through a little bit more about PowerRoster, where it came from, how it's developed, and then what we are using it for today with a little bit of a demonstration. So as you can see, it does what it says on the tin. It is a rostering solution, and it's for optimizing that employee scheduling. So making the rostering, shift management, scheduling of employees easier, more efficient, and then helping to optimize all of that resource planning when it comes into scheduling work to your engineers as well. So it originally came from field service challenges. So the challenges that you would have managing a large team or teams that are geographically spread or diverse skill sets, contractors, all of that type of thing. And with the working hours restrictions that we have in field service. So PowerRoster came out of those types of challenges. So it's heavily in its creation come from field service. But over the years, we've found that actually we're gaining a lot more interest with other Dynamics products. So we're getting people coming to us from a HR Dynamics side that have more workforce management type requirements that they're looking to meet, and also from customers in the contact center world, where they've got big call centers and people coming in and out of complex shifts and swing shifts and that type of thing that they need to manage. So it came from the field service challenges, but has grown over the years to fit into those other markets as well. So as you can see, some of the problem statements in there, what PowerRoster does and the impact that that has for you. And as I said, it's for organizations that have large, diverse workforces, and the effort to manage them is often manual, time consuming, or done across lots of different systems. In terms of the field service side, I'll now come on to that next and how PowerRoster helps in that workforce piece. And we'll move over to that. So for field service, what we look at is taking all of that historical information, all of that work that has been done, that's been done out in the field, all of that data that you've got. And how PowerRoster helps with that is that we can start to do things like resource forecast demand in PowerRoster. So we can forecast out different models. So if you've got seasonal fluctuations or productivity fluctuations, maybe on the retail side, you've got sales, Christmas sales, summer sales, that type of thing. We can take all of that information, model it into PowerRoster, and help build out what that might look like against the shift patterns that you have today. So if you were from a world where you have fixed shift patterns and you want to see what your demand, your historical demand would look like, that's something that we can do in PowerRoster. And again, if you're more of a dynamic shift rostering, so you don't have fixed patterns, but you want to model a scenario, so like an influx of calls, maybe in our blue light sector, we see like levels of service increasing. They're the type of things that we can model over here in PowerRoster as well. Once we've done that modeling, we can go ahead and update the shifts and the shift plans so that we're making sure we've got the right people in the right place. And that can all be done way in advance of the actual date that the work will be scheduled in somewhere like field service. So we can make sure that we're, way before the work is scheduled, way before something like RSO is ran, that all of the people are in the right place. Just some key functionality. As you would expect, we cover all aspects of scheduling, from roster pattern creation, automatic creation of shifts, lots of things like shift swaps and overtime, and I'll show some of them in there. There's an employee self-service option. Again, we have an employee frontline mobile application that can be used. There's integrated communication through Teams, as you would expect in there, and notifications that can be done. There is an element of time and attendance, and this is probably an important time to call out that typically we see PowerRoster is integrated with something like HR payroll and Dynamics HR for things like leave and absences, but there is an element of leave and absence that can be done in PowerRoster as well. So PowerRoster can be taken standalone. It doesn't have to be integrated with a Dynamics solution or any other one, and we can integrate with other solutions as well. But we do have customers that take PowerRoster both standalone and integrated with other solutions for those types of time and attendance requirements. As I mentioned before, forecasting reporting, again, came more out of the field service challenges, but can be used in contact centers and for forecasting and demand forecasting in the HR world as well. And then the final piece on here, which I'll show in the demo, is around constraints management. So we do have a module that is geared around compliance. So that's your type of things like working time directives, labour laws, regulations, and contracts, that type of thing. Okay. Rufus, do you want to move us over to the demo screen? Brilliant, thank you. Okay, so this is the main landing screen of PowerRoster. This is what your admin, your shift planners, your schedulers, dispatchers, those types of roles would land upon. There can be dashboards created here for them to land on, but I've come straight into the main rostering screen. So you can see here we've got our teams that I can collapse and expand down here. So I'm showing a healthcare demo here just because it's something that most of us can relate to. We've got our employees and their roles or their personas down here, and all of that contains their skills and anything else that we need to know about them contract-wise in order to schedule for them. As I said before, these can be fixed shift patterns, they can be complex shift patterns, or you may be an organisation that is quite dynamic and you don't have a fixed shift pattern, you just have shifts that come out. And we have an option called Smart Assign within PowerRoster that allows the system to go ahead and schedule shifts for you if you don't have a pattern, or if you're heavily reliant on contractors or ad hoc staff coming in and out of the workforce. All the information that you need to see on here, we've got times, the types of shifts you're on, and we can color code depending on the different shift types or other things that you need to see on here. In terms of things that we can do on the day, so lots of our customers, they have lots of their requirements come around on the day exceptions. How do we manage sickness? How do we manage somebody wanting to swap a shift? There's lots of things we can do in here in terms of editing a shift. So we can go ahead and make a quick edit if the time change or the shift type change. We can quickly go ahead and delete a shift, and then we can go and copy another shift. That's not going to delete for me now. There we go. We can go ahead and copy another shift, and then we can quickly paste it into here. So making those quick on the day exceptions. That doesn't change the underlying roster pattern that you've got. So that remains its integrity there, but it allows you to make those quick changes that you need to do. We can drag and drop shifts around here, so we can make those quick changes. And you'll see up here that I've got some unallocated shifts. So to go ahead and allocate them, there's a few different options. Again, we can drag and drop a shift to somebody, or we can come in and we can ask the system to assign this shift for us to a resource. This opens up an explorer where we can go through and start to filter over here by our different requirements to find a resource that we want to give that shift to. One of the things that we are working with at the moment, you'll see that I've got integrated Teams chats here that help us communicate with the different frontline workers, with different departments within the business. But we're also working on expanding Copilot within PowerRoster. One of the demonstrations that we're showing at the moment on LinkedIn, if you want to head to our Velrada LinkedIn page, is around a shift lens capability within Copilot that actually automates this whole process of coming in here and assigning a resource. So we've got a Copilot demonstration you can view that shows the Copilot functionality doing all of this for you, finding a shift for you and filling that gap. But it is something that can still be done manually within the system. Okay, one of the things I've talked about is compliance. So you see up here, we have a run compliance option. If I click that, that's going to do me a compliance run for today. It's going to check the roster and the roster period, and it's going to bring up any breaches and notifications that we need to be aware of. We can also navigate to the compliance area within PowerRoster. And I'm going to come straight to contracts over here, just to show you the types of different things that we set up. So here for my healthcare team, under my clinical leads, we have contractual compliance rules that only apply to our clinical lead staff. And you can see some of those, the types of things that our customers are looking at having in PowerRoster or use. You can see on here, we've got things about average hours that are worked over a different reference period, the maximum number of hours that can be done in a shift. And there's lots of things around this we can build out in terms of minimum rest time between shifts and all of that type of thing. So that's all available as a module within PowerRoster. So I'm going to come back to my main roster. And when that loads, I'm just going to give you a quick look at what the demand forecasting looks like in the system. And then we'll move over to take a quick look at the PowerRoster mobile application as well. So if I show my demand forecast up here, I've got this pre-filtered, so I've built a model within the system. This is a minimum staffing level that I'm looking at here. So this is the minimum staff that the healthcare care home needs in order to meet their historical demand. So you can see the pink line here is where we have satisfied our forecast. The red line is where we are short on staff. And the green over here is where we've exceeded on staff. And then we can go ahead and filter that down into a different role or position, or look at different dates or different models in here as well. So as you can see, I've got a response model that was more in for our utility customers when there's an incident. And I've got a HR quarterly gap analysis in here. This was more for our HR customers in the retail area that were looking at, gaps in forecast so that they could schedule training dates. So coming back to here, what we could do is on July the 6th, we've exceeded by one. Maybe this is where we look to offer our annual leave to people and make a push on that. And where we are short on staff, that's where we might want to look at sending out some overtime or promoting some shift swaps within the system as well. Okay, I'm going to move over to the PowerRoster mobile application now, just to give you a quick view on what that looks like. Okay, so this is our out-of-the-box mobile application. Probably lots of people familiar with Dynamics will be familiar with this. This can be configured, and most of our customers do have this, different configurations in here, different colors, different branding and different schemes that we have. On here, we can go to our home and see our shifts. We can do things like shift swaps, or we can look at overtime requests that have been sent to us. We can see things like our leave balance and request leave in here, and any notifications that have been sent to us as well. So we keep this very fresh out of the box. It is something that can be quite unique to each different customer, and so part of what we'll do during implementation is have a session to talk about the mobile application, our customers' workflows, and how we might want this to look to suit them. And all of these areas, as you'd expect, can be switched on and off depending on each different requirements. Okay, so we have about 10 minutes left, and I want to make sure Tim's got 5 minutes to talk through the case study, and we've got 5 minutes to ask questions and comments. Please do put them in the chat, and if you need more information and you don't get to all the questions, then feel free to reach out to us, like Richard said, via LinkedIn or through Rufus, and we can spend some more time with you doing a deeper demo. Rufus, do you want to swap back to the slide deck?
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rufus. Thanks, Caroline. Okay, so I just wanted to take you through one of our real-world examples, one of our recent implementations with Leeds City Council. So just to start with, just a quick overview of the numbers. So their region covers about 800,000 residents. So we went live with PowerRoster in February for them, and today we've scheduled nearly 250,000 shifts. So they've built out their shift patterns over the course of a year. There's 480 frontline staff across 79 collection routes. So their scenario is essentially crewing up bin crews, typically a driver and 2 or 3 loaders assigned to a specific lorry and a route going out each day and collecting the different coloured bins. From if I just drop into the next slide. So their problem, they had an aging legacy system, essentially an access database, going out of support. Typical scenario we're here, especially in local councils. So they had a bit of a burning platform to get off. And also that also brought some challenges through around data migration. Huge reliance on manual effort to get the shift scheduling right, but also to communicate that with each of their frontline staff. They were seeing a lot of issues around the rosters, so routes not crewed up, or too many people on the same route, having to do a lot of manual to and fro on phone calls, on texts, trying to get the right people in the right place. And just to call out, that's a significant cost to all local councils, actually, a huge cost around things like agency staff and overtime in both the NHS and local councils. It's a real significant cost, and one of the big problems that they're all trying to fix. PowerRoster enabled us to be able to start attacking some of that. They also had a really bad visibility, so that was one of the key problems. It's difficult to see who was on leave when, who was working when. They had to do a lot of digging around that. So the solution, we implemented PowerRoster, standard implementation, PowerRoster out of the box. Typically what we do with our standard implementations is get it installed quickly, get some key users into the system to have a look, and then start identifying where there might be gaps from the out of box, and we can look to start closing those gaps. Typically we do that through some add-ons and Power Platform functionality just to close some of those gaps. So some of those are listed there, actually. Things like automated leave rules, so taking away the need for someone to manually assess and approve or reject a leave request. We've got functionality in there that goes away, assesses how many people of a certain route and a certain role are off on that specific date, and it will automatically confirm or reject it and then present it to an admin to manually override it if they wish. Auto report generation, so these crews, they use things like task sheets, so actual manual task sheets and crew sheets. So we're automatically generating those now based on the data in the rosters, things like crews, who's on each bin crew, who's been any complaints on that specific route, and then actually going and signing that off. So we're automatically generating those based on the data they're putting into the roster. Recurring disposal location patterns, so they don't always dispose all of their lorries from the same location each day. So we built something with Power Platform just to supplement PowerRoster that's automatically providing you a pattern of which locations on which date. So each of the routes has a specific recurring pattern to do each of those, and we're automatically populating that onto their task sheets for the bin crews. And then we've also put in some additions around return to work process, making sure after someone's been absent that they are safe to go back to work, and we provide visibility for the admin staff in the roster to do that, so they're not giving people shifts who haven't gone through that process. And also overtime bans, again, people aren't turning up on their overtime shifts, or they've worked too much and you want to control that, they apply overtime bans and things like that. So the outcomes, really good story, really for leads. We've really provided them with a much more automated and visual rostering process, a lot less manual effort and interventions. So they really are focusing on those exceptions when someone calls in leave, and even that is the next stage. We'll be looking to automate that. So really reducing the manual effort day to day and overnight to fix and crew up the rosters. Increased visibility of data is a big one as well, and use of just automation to really increase that efficiency, something they didn't have before in their previous solution. So as I said, a really good story for them, and we've really taken their waste management processes forward from what they were being really manual now to really automated. In terms of next steps, then we're looking to really get them going on the mobile app, which they're not taking up yet, and as I said, more use of things like Copilot to take even more of those manual processes away. If you'd like to hear more about leads or any other of our recent implementations, we'd love to talk to you more about that. So please reach out to us either through here or through LinkedIn email, as Rich mentioned before. Thanks. I'll pass you back to Richard or Caroline. Thanks.
Thanks, Tim. So yeah, I think we've got just 5 minutes left. So we're on time for any questions or comments.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate that presentation. And Tim, I'm feeling a lot happier about where my tax money's going now. Yeah, I know it takes a little while for the stream to catch up sometimes. So I guess just as a question to kind of kick things off, I think that's really clearly shown kind of the use case from an end customer perspective. In terms of Velrada, you're very active within the Microsoft Dynamics community. You work globally with partners all around the world. What kind of support do you provide to implementation partners who are working on projects?
Great question. Thanks, Rufus. So yeah, ultimately, we're all about empowering our partners' customers to drive efficiency out of their frontline operations here. So sometimes we will be brought in by partners very much hands-on to come in and implement PowerRoster and deliver what we do as part of a broader program of work. Sometimes we have partners who would rather be more hands-on, who understand these requirements and processes better than we do, who will actually take PowerRoster and implement it for those clients for us. We're quite pragmatic about what that looks like, and sometimes it's a combination of the two. Ultimately, it's about making sure that it's delivered effectively into that client's environment, and that it syncs well with the remainder of the project delivery and what else is going on, what else our partners are doing for those customers. So yeah, very partner friendly, very collaborative in all of this. Whether you're delivering field services or you have clients who are non-dynamic clients that are, you know, building power platform apps and managing frontline staff of any scale that need to be rostered and organized. There's a real opportunity to drive efficiency out of those operations. So that's what it's all about. How we go about doing that. It's very much a partner-led route to market to scale the PowerRoster, you know, global community. So we're very supportive and very partner friendly when it comes to how we engage.
Brilliant. Thanks, Richard. I don't think we've got any questions just for today, it looks like.
Okay.
We'll give it a few more minutes. I mean, from your side, was there anything else you wanted to kind of close on, or any points? I notice Dan's dropped in a link to the Shift Lens demo in the chat. So if you are interested in learning a little bit more about Velrada, there's an option for next steps.
Yep, and yeah, just as I said during the demo, for very quick snapshot of what PowerRoster does in a very short amount of time. So we're trying to squeeze everything in, and we'd be happy to spend more time with you going through both the dispatchers and the frontline app, going through all the different modules and some more case studies. So do reach out if you'd like to spend some more time with us doing a more in-depth demo. If you've got any customers that you think this would be great to show, we've got some other videos that we can send to you, as well as the Shift Lens demo that Dan has shared. And yeah, we're happy to spend that time. So yeah, please do reach out.
Brilliant.
I think Rufus.
Yeah, well, thank you all for your time. Really appreciated today, and yeah, I look forward to hearing again from you guys soon.
Thanks, Rufus. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers all.